Welcome to 3-week workshop on programming in C++. In this video, I'm going to discuss on object-oriented programming concepts or elements. In a previous video, we discussed about some basic programming paradigm techniques. So in that, we discussed about various techniques for developing a solution for an application. So we know that, I already told that object-oriented method is the best method for developing application because of these four major reasons. And simply, if you want to say that always this OO paradigm that is called that object-oriented method, that is a paradigm to provide a pattern for a data, not rather than for the functionality. I will repeat once again. This is a OO paradigm only to provide a pattern, not for a functionalities. It provides only the pattern for the data, not for the functionalities. Okay, so these are some of the key characteristics of object-oriented programming. And so normally this object-oriented programming only to focus on the data, not rather than for the procedures. And here every information will be divided in the form of objects. And the data structure, that is called the way organizing of information, is happened based on the characteristics of objects. And the function which is provided in the class means in the particular pattern to operate only on the values in an object. And here we are going to provide extra data hiding concepts to implement extending the some level of security. And here the objects will be the communication will takes place through objects, and it is very easy to add the new functionalities because of this object-oriented programming. And it follows the bottom-up approach. Okay, so the next thing is, if you want to develop a reusable oriented project application in industry, we must to follow some set of concepts, or we call as object-oriented elements, or maybe we call as object-oriented concepts. So if you want to develop any application with the help of object-oriented programming, object-oriented paradigm, we must to follow these 7 elements. There is a 7 element we have. So with the help of this 7 element, if you are developing an application, it is very easy to construct a reusable application. So the 7 elements are class, objects, data abstraction and encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, message passing, and dynamic binding. So these are the main 7 elements of object-oriented programming. So in that, the class, object, message passing, and dynamic binding is the base for any programming language. But the data abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism, these are the 3 major important properties of object-oriented programming. So if you want to develop any programming, the concept of class, object, message passing, and dynamic is the basic things. So that we are saying there are 3 important important properties of uses: encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. So whenever you are saying it's a language, the language must support all these 7 properties. So then only we call as object-oriented programming language. First one, the first important element is class. So I told that this OO paradigm to provide only the general format, that is called provide a pattern. So here the class, it means generally the class is called a collection of the data and the various operations. For example, let us take a simple example. I know that this is a class. For example, let us take second year CRC. This is a one classroom. So this is a classroom. In that classroom, we know that there is some students need to all, and that's a student. Every student have a name, and we need to teach some subject for the students on the particular semester. So here, and that student names will be called as a data, and this teaching is a job that is called operations. So the classes are called as the collection of the data, the collection of student names, and various operations. We are taking teaching on different subjects that performed on a data. So we are teaching only for those students. So here the data, the students are manipulated. We are teaching and we are making them to understand. So this is the one process, the process only on concentration on this data. So here we are looking only for the data, not for the operation. So that object-oriented methodology only looking for the data, looking for the data, not for functionality. So normally the class is a user-defined data type, and always we called as the class provides a blueprint on template. That is called a class. Okay. For example, if you want to apply for the Aadhaar updation card, if you want to go for updation of Aadhaar information, they are given a one format. Clear? So here that means that a format is called as a class. Generally, we are saying it is a format is called as class. That is called, it provides only the blueprint. So in that, we are not thinking on how to change it. We are all in that a particular form. We are looking only for the data which is filled by the user for updation process. It's a very important. So like that, in the class, we are only looking for data, not for the functionality. So not necessary, I mean, so if you are filling that other updation information, I mean, a blueprint, so we not necessary to think about what is the data going to change. So the what is the information you are return on the format is very important. So they are saying some they say words that you need to write only in a capital uppercase letter, and you need no strikeout is there. So from that, what you understand that the data which is present on the template is very important. No one will give an important for the template. So we are giving you only important for the information which is presented or filled by the user on the particular format. So in an object-oriented method, only we are looking for the information. So the Aadhaar card means the general format for updation of Aadhaar card will be in a class. And if the particular user wants to fill, then the user will be called as an object. So that we called as this is a user-defined format. So for our application, I need to decide what kind of information I need. I have to design based on that, and I need to apply some kind of an operation for a manipulation of those data. For example, the function operations may be lead as updation of phone number, updation of address, so or maybe updation of fingerprint. So these are the some of the functionalities, but these functionalities will be operated based on our input. So the class provide a general format. So that means it is a user-defined format. So by using this user-defined format, the objects will be all objects will be values will be recorded. Okay, now come back to the second important property, that is called object. We know that we are formatted one format. We have a one format that is called Aadhaar form updation format we have. So the format is common for everyone. So if you want to fill, if you want to go for Aadhaar updation, then means we are buying a form and we are trying to fill it. So for this general format, for this class, no memory will be allocated. Only the memory will be allocated for the object. It means that you are the user, you are willing to develop an application, you are willing to go for other updation by filling some information. So while you are going for other updation only, you are going to buy this template and you have to fill it. So you are the user. Generally, we call it as object. Means that the person those who followed the pattern is called as an object. So that object which follows this class, then it is called as object. So it is an instance of a class or runtime entity. It means an instance means that the value will be filled on the format is depends on the user. So we call it as instance. In that particular moment, the value will be assigned for your data. And based on the data, it will be manipulated. Maybe address changes or updation of phone number or maybe updation of your photo, whatever may be. So so that we call object is called as instance of a class, or maybe we call as runtime entity. So without object, no memory will be allocated. So if you are creating an object, then only the memory will be allocated. It means then the common format is as usual is there. If you are going to ask, you need a format to fill for another updation, then they are asked, maybe they have to take a Xerox copy of that and give it to us. So they are given a form to us. So there is a paper we have, so that there is a memory allocated to us. Now we are trying to fill it. So for general class, there is no memory will be allocated. It shows that this is the format you need for this application. If you go for passport application, there is a general format is there. So the passport application is a class. If the passport application is filled by the user, that is owned by the user. That is called, the user is called as an object. So it will be filled. So that we call as it contains real values instead of variables. We know that if you want to store a value, we need a variable to store in a memory, so that this object contains a value, not memory locations. And these elements will be accessed by using objects only, not for a class. Okay. For example, simple example, I'm going to create a class fruit. Fruit is a common category. So in that, if I'm saying a banana, mango is one of the example for, it's a coming under fruit. Yes, guava is one of the object for class. So if I'm taking a classroom, second year CSC, every student in the class will be called as object. So the for object only the memory will be allocated. For means also object to hold the real value. If you are buying in a particular Aadhaar card updation form, you are going to fill the real values. So always the object only must to hold the real value. So once we want to say this is the value, I want to say that this is the name, this is the person having this value. So I need to access the value of this person. So person name dot corresponding field name. Okay. The next very important, that is called data abstraction and encapsulation. So I told that there are three important features of OOPS. One is data abstraction and encapsulation. Second one is inheritance, and third one is polymorphism. So data means here we must know what is data abstraction. Normally the data abstraction means it only to focus on essential features of object, and you are going to ignoring or you are going to ignoring extra features or accidental features. It means that if you are going to develop only the particular application, means if I am going to update only for the phone number, that address field is not necessarily important in the other. Only they are going to take in the mobile numbers. So whatever the field you want for your manipulation, only it will be considered. So the remaining things is not considered. So a simple example, if you go for the Aadhaar card updation, then no one will ask you your parent Aadhaar numbers. So if you are asking a father Aadhaar number, that is called accidental, or maybe it is called as extraneous properties. So if you go with the object-oriented method, there is no need for any extra attributes, or maybe the additional attributes or additional properties should not be considered. Only you are going to consider the properties needed for a particular application. Okay. So next one is, under this data hiding, we are saying ADT, abstract data type. So normally the information must be hidden. So only the features, those who needed for the user, will be shown to the user. For example, if we have a many number of apps in our mobile, but no one's know that what is the code they are developing, what is the code is written in background. We don't know what is the language, what is the code is written, what is the logic is written. Nothing we to know about it. So because it is not needed for the user. So it is meaning that based on the level, we are going to hide it. That is called hiding that unwanted details from the user. So from the user perspective, we are going to remove that unwanted details. Means that generally, if you are easy to understand, means the data abstraction means you are going to hide the background or implementation details. So mainly to focus on, it will be implemented on design issues itself. Okay. The next one, it is the encapsulation. Encapsulation is the process of wrapping or joining or binding of data members and method into a single unit. It means that I told that, so in that object-oriented method, we are looking for a data and we are adding some functionalities based on values, based on the data. That is called based on the values, we are going to perform some manipulation, that is called operations. So we need to group. So that is called as encapsulation. So in a programming languages, we are grouped by using curly brace. So by using grouping concepts, we are going to group the data and as well as and a grouping of the encapsulation. It's joining. So by you are grouping all the data members and member functions into a single unit is called as encapsulation. It means that you are going to combine the variables and the corresponding functions operated on those variables will be grouped together. It is called as encapsulation. So by using, it will be solved by using an implementation part. So that the data abstraction focus on design level. After the design, we'll go for implementation. While doing an implementation, we are grouping. So based on the relevant properties. Okay. So next one, it is called as an inheritance. So inheritance, it is a process of accessing a property of one classes into another. For example, if you easy to understand, if you go for an admission in a college, we are reusing the concept of transfer certificate. So whatever the field we have in a transfer certificate, it will be reused by us. This is called inheritance. It is reusability. Simple example, I think everyone knows that there is a medical insurance scheme announced by the Prime Minister of India. So in that, the ration card information is needed for registration. So the ration card registry is already there. So just we are simply reused. Like as a Gmail account for login for a different kind of application. Even if you go for a Swime portal, just we are simply logging through with the help of Gmail. There is no need to create an account for that. So this is called reusability. So inheritance is also another important feature of Hadoop. By using this concept of inheritance with the help of parent and child relationship, we are going to access the property of your classes into another cloud property whenever you need it. So it extends a different kind of property, maybe is property or a part of a property or maybe has a property. The next one is called as a polymorphism. So it means that polymorphism, poly means it's a more than one. So we are going to means that in different situation we are expressing in different ways. For example, I'm a human, I'm a person. In the same time, it means I'm a son for my parents, and means that I'm a husband for my wife, and I'm a father for my son, and I'm an uncle for my daughters, my daughter sisters. Sorry, my daughter means my sister daughters. And means I'm playing a different role. I'm a single person. I'm playing a different role. This is called polymorphism. Depending on the situation, I'm playing a different role. Then it is called as the polymorphism. So you are based on the situation. The programming means the program will work based on that. Then it is called polymorphism. So there are two types of polymorphism. That is called compile-time polymorphism or runtime polymorphism. The next one is message passing. So you know that if you want to communicate without a message, we can't do anything. So if I'm, for a simple example, just I'm conducting the workshop. So means if I want to teach something, I need to give enough message in the form of either video or maybe online class or maybe book material. Anyway, I need to give some information to you to attend this workshop. So this is called as a message. So if you want to make a communication with a person, we need some kind of information. That information is called as a message. So normally the message passing means if you are communicated with the different functionalities, it can be achieved with the help of passing and arguments to the functions. And the next one, it is called dynamic binding. It is also called as a late binding, or maybe it is called as runtime binding. It means that we need to understand, the computer to understand this is the function to be invoked in the particular time, to be for the particular execution, to be identified at the time of running a program only. So it is called as dynamic binding. So these are the 7 basic elements of OOPS. So already you know that C++ is a partially object-oriented programming. We can develop an application in C++ with either with the help of object-oriented programming or without object-oriented programming. So let us have some discussion, simple examples to discuss about it. So assume that here I am going to apply for a student, for a student class. So class, I'm going to say it's the student. So here I'm going to define only the 3 marks, M1, M2, and M3. I'm looking only for the total. I'm not looking for average. So please keep in mind that. So object-oriented methodology, we are always to interact with your environment. This is directly with the user and to collect it. So the user requirement is only to calculate the total, so that we need to calculate only the total in this here. You should not worry about other things. So here I need to get a methods. Okay, so here I'm going to calculate the total. So I don't want to get a method. I'm going to pass as a message. There are different methods we have. So M1, and so I have a 3 marks. I'm going to find the total. So total equal to M1 plus M2 plus M3. So here I'm going to print it. So here equivalent print statement is a cout. Cout is the output object, predefined object. It is called, we call as means that extraction operator to display on the output screen. For example, I want to display the total marks is marks equal to so total. So like that we need to define. So in a Java we are using a plus symbol to concatenate a string, but here we have to use less than that is called extraction operator to use means extract to use for connections. Okay, so now the total will be calculated. And so here, just as finish. Okay, now I'm going to write a main function. So I told that this is the bottom-up approach. So now I need to create an object. So I told that the student is a class. So further, there is no memory space will be allocated while running a program. Only for the object will be allocated. So this is a class. It provides only the general template. It means that I have only one field that is called total. I want to calculate the total. So that is the operation we have. This is called operation. So the operation will be performed on this value, on this total. So there is some calculation and the result will be stored on this data member. So here the variable which is defined inside of the class is called as data member. Okay, so now we need to use it. I want to use this blueprint. This is called a blueprint. I want to create an object first. So here the creation syntax for creating an object is class name, and its object name it's enough. There is no need to use new operator, but in Java, C#, whatever other future languages, we need to use new operator for creating object. But here there is no need for any use of new operator for creation of object. I'm going to call the method input. I'm going to give a markers. The 3 marks will be passed. Clear? So just I'm going to close this. For clearing previous output you can use, but the clear screen and get use only use for your Windows platform. So if you go with a Linux platform, this clear screen get use should not work. So here the default header file is iostream.h, input output stream.h. And for clear screen as usual, you can go with the console input output stream.h. And the extension for saving your program is .cpp. Now I'm going to compile. So there is a error. It is inaccessible. Yeah, before that I want to define here. Okay, so here first of all we know that there are 7 properties of OOPS. It's 7 basic elements of OOPS. The first 2 properties called as class. So we know that it is a blueprint or provide a general pattern or general format. This is called as a class. Okay, so here this is a class for a student. So class, it is only provided general format. It not given any specific format for any object. So if anyone belongs to this student category, they can use this concept. They can use this class. So the concept of this class is for finding the total for the 3 marks. Clear? So here this is called as members. We call as members, or here in C++ we call as data members for holding values. And we are going to write the operation. This is called operations on data members. So we call as methods. So here you can call as methods, but in C we call as functions, but normally we call as operations. So this operations only depends on the data members. Okay. So now next one. So this is called the class. Okay, first property class. So it provides only the general format. For example, if the particular student want to use it, so they want to get a memory. So they, like us, for an object, for Aadhaar card updation, they need to buy a format for their own by spending some money. So the memory will they can get by paying some amount, they can get a format and they can ready to fill it. So like that in a computer, if you want to use this format, we need to allocate a memory by using this object. So here the syntax for creating object is class name and object name. So this is the syntax. And the next thing is now the object is creator. And the next thing is the third one is data abstraction and encapsulation. So I told the data abstraction is a process of hiding a implementation details. It will be implemented at the design level. So design means you are going to write a program. Here in this case, design means we are here we are writing a code. See the one error. The error is called as is not accessible because these are the informations are hidden. These are the informations are hidden so that it will not be visible here in the main function. Clear? That is called data hiding. I told that by using access modifier, we are defining the different level of hiding. Here the default hiding is private. Private means we are unable to access from outside. I will repeat once again. We are unable to access the things from outside. So I want to change it as a public. It means that everyone can have a right to access it. I will repeat once again. So if it is a public means everyone can write accessible permission to anywhere. So that is called public. So we will discuss in later part regarding an access modifier in some other video. So now the data hiding is implemented. I'm going to say that it will be accessible by anyone. So now the first one is it is a class. The next one is object is creator. And for the third one is data abstraction. So we are providing different implementation level. And fourth one means, and the next one is encapsulation. I told that encapsulation is the process of combining the data members and member function into a single unit. So this is a data member and this is a method. It will be combined by using this curly brace. So this is called a grouping. So means a grouping of a data members and member functions into a single unit. So this is called encapsulation. So from this curly brace to end of this curly brace, this is called as encapsulation. We are grouping into a single unit. Group means that it is a block. So we are making a one single block so that it is called as encapsulation. So that we call as wrapping or joining of data members, variables and functions into a single unit is called as encapsulation. Okay. The next property is inheritance. Actually here I didn't use the concept of inheritance. In future I can go how to implement the concept of inheritance. And here this is called the message passing. Means we are passing some messages to calculate a total. So I told that if you want to make a communication, means if you want to perform some operation, we need some certain kind of input. That input will be called as a message. So if you want to perform this calculation by using the function input, we need 3 messages. So these 3 messages will be passed as arguments. And so then at the time of running the program, the compiler will be the computer hardware, the RAM will be connected with the corresponding method toolbar. Okay, so now I'm going to now I think the error will be clear. So now I'm going to run this program. So the total mark will be displayed. Now see that I'm going to execute how the function will execute by using F7 keyword. We know that always we just have only one single entry point. So a clear screen. So automatically the method will be invoked. So this is called dynamic binding. So at the time of running the program, the comments we are identified which is the method you are going to invoke. It will be translated the control to the particular method. So it will be executed and it will be further. See that this is the cout is a predefined object which is defined inside of iostream.h. So now see that there is a control will be transferred to the iostream.h. See that the control will be transferred to the iostream.h and it will be executed. So once the block is over, and then it will come out. So then function execution is also over. Then we'll go for the next one. This is called dynamic binding. So in which method you want, you have to execute it. So this is the way. This is a simple example I showed for explanation for a C++ program. In future classes, I will give an explanation for how to create a class and the way we are providing the different kind of implementation parts in later classes. Okay, thank you.